Frodo falls. The light in his fist goes out as Shelob's weight slams him to the stone, mandibles closing on his throat with a wet, choking crunch. His scream never finishes. Warm spray hits the tunnel wall. Sam slips in it as he runs, too late, sword raised, hearing only the wet tearing sound and the soft clatter of a small body dropped onto the cold black rock. If this dark path through Mordor pulls you in, tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what corner of Middle-earth you'd stand for when the shadow rises, Rohan's fields, Gondor's walls, or the Shire's quiet lanes. Sam stops. Not because he chooses to, but because his legs forget what running is. Frodo lies twisted on the stairs of Tirith Ungol, eyes half open, staring at nothing. Sting lies beside him, its blue fire gone, smeared with black and red. The phial of Galadriel rolls to a stop against the step, its glass dim as if it cannot bear to give light to what it reveals. Shelob's bulk withdraws, dragging itself into the shadows above, satisfied. Stringy webs tremble, the air crawls with the smell of venom and iron. Sam's throat works, no sound comes. Then something in him tears. He is on his knees, hands in Frodo's cloak, shaking him, babbling words that do not even sound like hobbit speech to his own ears. Pleas, denials, half-remembered prayers to Elbereth and to anyone else who might be listening in this dead land. Frodo's head lolls. The bite at his neck is an ugly dark crescent, the flesh already swelling, the skin around it white and slack. There is no shallow spider sleep here, no slow pulse beating under poisoned skin. Shelob struck to kill. Sam knows it without needing to know how he knows. He has seen too many dead faces in Moria and under the eaves of Fangorn and on the river. This one, though, is smaller than any of them and dearer than all of them together. A great blankness opens inside him. Then, into that blankness, something hot pours, slow and thick as lava. His hand closes on the hilt of Sting. His other hand finds the phial. The light flares at his touch, sudden, white, almost painful. The tunnel groans around it. Shadows recoil above him. Shelob twists. A hiss like steam escaping from a cauldron rattles the stones. Eyes, glassy and many, flicker in the light. She begins to descend again, to reclaim whatever has disturbed her feast. Sam rises without knowing that he stands. "Come on, then," he whispers, and his voice scarcely sounds like his own. "Come on, you filth. The battle in the tunnel is brief, but it is not clean." Shelob's limbs crash around him, smashing stone, strings of webbing whipping through the air. Sam scrambles, cuts, feels something tear in his side, does not care. The phial swings in his fist, casting wild arcs of brilliance that stab at Shelob's eyes. She shrieks, immense and furious as Sting bites deep, once, twice, into the quivering belly. Her weight slams down. The stairs split. Dust explodes. Sam is thrown against the wall, the breath knocked from him, ears ringing. The phial rolls away. He claws for it, fingers scraping stone. Above, Shelob convulses, her carcass spasming, legs curling inward like blackened branches in a fire. The sound she makes is not that of any creature that belongs to the waking world. Then, slowly, horribly, silence falls. Sam lies for a moment in that silence, each inhale a ragged rasp. The tunnel smells of spider ichor and stone dust and Frodo's blood. He pushes himself up, one thought burning through everything else. Frodo. He staggers to the small, still form. There is no change. Mr. Frodo. It comes out as a croak. He smooths the cloak, wipes at the grime on Frodo's cheek with hands that shake in great rough movements. "Mr. Frodo, wake up, sir. We've got to go." Please. The ring lies beneath Frodo's shirt, weighty as a buried stone. Sam's hands, moving in hopeless habit, unfasten the mithril coat, push aside the fabric, check for breath, for heartbeat. There is none. Under the shirt, on its chain, the ring gleams faintly in the file's distant light, as if reflecting a fire that only it can see. Sam stares at it. He knows, on some deep level, that this is when the world should end, that everything after this moment is mist, unreal. But the ring is real. The memory comes back to him like a blow. Elrond's counsel in Rivendell, talk of what happens if the ring-bearer falls, if the quest fails. Gandalf's grave eyes, Aragorn's quiet, weary certainty, Boromir's anger. Nobody had words for this. Nobody had planned for this stare, this spider, this dead hobbit. The darkness is still out there. Sauron's eye still searches. The war still rages, and the ring still must be taken to the fire. Sam is only a gardener, a plain hobbit from a quiet hill who never asked to see such things. He closes his eyes. The sounds come to him anyway. Men shouting in the distance on some battlefield he cannot see, the sighing of the wind over the broken lands of Mordor, the faint, far horn cry of Gondor on the brink. "If I don't do it," he whispers, half to Frodo, half to the stone. Who will, his fingers, clumsy and reverent, slip the chain from Frodo's neck? The instant the ring lies bare in his palm, the air tightens. Heat presses against his skin, though the gold itself feels cool. A whisper threads through the back of his mind like breath on the nape of his neck, too low to catch the words but heavy with meaning. For a moment, he sees himself, impossibly large, standing on some high black tower, all Mordor small beneath him. He jerks his hand shut. "No," he says to whatever that is, "you hush." The words are hobbit plain, but something in the unseen world recoils. Sam takes Frodo's hand, cold and limp, and folds the chain into it for a heartbeat. His voice cracks. "I'm sorry, Mr. Frodo. I'm that sorry. But I've got to carry it on. For you." He does what may be the hardest thing Samwise Gamgee ever does. He lets go. He takes the ring back, fastens it about his own neck, over his mail and his worn shirt. It settles there with a weight, out of all proportion to its size, a sensation like a stone resting over his heart. Sam bows his head over Frodo one last time, his tears falling onto the still face. "He'll finish it," he whispers, "or he'll die on the road. That's a promise. A promise in the Shire is a binding thing. In Mordor, it is a kindled light." He wraps Frodo carefully, as if in blankets for sleep, though there is nothing soft here. The elven cloak he draws over that still form seems to drink the shadows, blurring the outline until Frodo is only another rock in a land of broken stone. Sam presses his forehead to that bundle. "Sleep well, Mr. Frodo," he murmurs. "I'm going down to the dark, so you don't have to." Then he takes Sting, the file, what little food remains, and he turns his back on the friend he loves more than his own life. The stair of Cirith Ungol winds up toward the watchtower and down toward Mordor. Sam goes down, far away, on the plains of Rohan under a bruised morning sky. Riders form ranks, horns sound, thin but defiant, floating over the grass like the last cry of summer. The Rohirrim ride toward war, unaware that in a tunnel, leagues away, the world has already shifted beneath their feet. Merry adjusts his helm on his small head and swallows hard, unseen among them. Éowyn, her face hidden by a Mon's helm, grips her spear until her knuckles whiten. In Minas Tirith, Gandalf stands upon the walls and looks east. He feels something, like a door slamming shut in a dark house. He cannot say what has changed, but the air tastes wrong, and the shadow on the horizon seems thicker than it was a moment ago. "Strange," he murmurs, more to himself than to Pippin at his side. There is a heaviness in the world today. Pippin shivers and scuffs his feet, thinking of the Palantir, thinking of his own brush with the eye, thinking, Frodo. Wherever he is, I hope he's safe. The eye, on its high unseen throne atop Barad-dûr, pivots restlessly. Sauron has felt something too, a brief flare of pain and delight from the slopes of Ephel-Duath. Shelob, wounded, furious. Then, something else, a small light, a tiny voice spitting defiance in the dark, and a presence he knows too well. His ring, near, then briefly clearer, as if lifted into view. He remembers the halfling scene in the Palantir. He remembers the path of Cirith Ungol, long neglected, supposed to be guarded by his half-tamed monster. He assumes, as he always has, that the ring has been taken by those who would learn its use. He does not reason in terms of hobbits who would walk willingly into fire. Yet, in the sickly light of Mordor's sky, just beyond the tunnel's mouth, Sam steps onto soil that has forgotten the word green. The land sleeps under ash and poison. The plain of Gorgoroth stretches away like a dirty gray sea, broken only by slag heaps, pits, and the crawling lines of roads like scars. In the far distance, half lost in haze and smoke, the dark tower of Barad-dûr lifts its cruel crown. To the south, nearer but still terrible, Mount Doom smolders, its slopes veined with slow orange. The fumes reach Sam in the first breath. He coughs, eyes watering. The air tastes of brimstone and old blood. A faint wind brings with it the clang of hammers and the hoarse shouts of orcs somewhere far off. He clutches the phial tighter. It gleams faintly even in the poisonous daylight, but its light is pale here, beaten back by the lid of cloud. The ring at his neck lies heavy. Each heartbeat seems to drum against it, reminding him of what he bears. Sam looks back once. The tunnel gapes like a wound in the mountainside, black and secret. Somewhere behind that dark mouth lies Frodo, hidden and alone. The thought of it makes Sam's stomach cramp. "Can't think about that," he mutters. "If I do, I won't move at all." He takes a breath. He takes a step, one step into Mordor. On the Pelennor, the Witch King's army uncoils. Black sails approach the Harland, and Denethor burns in madness. Éomer reels under the sight of Theoden's broken body and the black standard of the Corsairs, unaware of the gray ship's true masters. That story plays out much as the world remembers it. The charge of Rohan, the fall of the Witch King under a shield maiden's hand and a halfling's blade, Aragorn's banner unfurling on the river. Yet beneath all that tumult, a hidden current runs differently now. Gandalf, between battles, feels for the ring's bearer, reaching out with the quiet, subtle senses of the wise. He finds only a blur. It is as if a star he has watched for many months has slipped behind a cloud that will not move. Aragorn, standing upon the broken fields, his sword stained, his breath ragged, looks east between moments of action. A heaviness lies on his heart that no victory on this day can lift. He does not know why. "Frodo," he says under his breath, while around him the wounded moan and the crows circle. Do not fail now. Frodo does not hear. Sam walks. He walks until his legs feel hollow, until the skin on his face is coated with ash and his tongue swells in his mouth for want of water, until the landscape blurs into one long smear of gray pits and black rocks and the dim red glare of Orodruin always ahead, never nearer. He keeps to the broken ground, skirting the main roads where files of orcs march under iron discipline and whips. Sometimes, From behind slag mounds, he watches them pass, twisted bodies under rusted mail, standards snapping listlessly, the white hand of Isengard here and there among Sauron's red-eyed sigils, remnants of Sarumans, folly now pressed into a greater service. Their speech is rough, their laughter bitter. They talk of battles in the west, of the fall of kings, of man-meat and loot. Sam listens, though their words chill him. He hears of Minas Tirith under siege, of the dike at the Pelennor, of the great black captain who rode on a fell beast, of a white wizard on the walls. No mention of Mr. Frodo, he whispers once behind his rock. No mention of any hobbits. That's good. That's as it should be. But the ring around his neck feels warmer, as if amused at night, so far as night can be told in this land of perpetual gloom. Sam huddles against stone still faintly warm from vents below. He eats the last limbus in tiny bites, stretching each crumb, remembering how Frodo would smile faintly when breaking the bread, as if even that simple act held some hope. He does not sleep much. When he does, he dreams. Sometimes he dreams of the Shire, too bright to bear, the party tree heavy with lanterns, rosy cotton laughing, the air full of bees and pipe smoke. Then the colors drain away and the tree withers, and he wakes with his heart pounding. Sometimes he dreams of Frodo. Always, in Mordor's dreams, the ring is there. It speaks more plainly to him now. You cannot do this, it murmurs, not in words but in impressions, in flashes of certainty. You are too small. You will fail. Better to rest. Better to turn aside. Better, perhaps, to use me. Look how the Dark Lord fears my return. You could strike at him. Sam refuses to answer it most of the time, but there are moments when he staggers and falls to one knee under the weight of his pack and his burden, when he feels anger, not at the ring, but at everything, at the West for sending two halflings into this death trap, at Gandalf for his riddles and his long plans, at Aragorn for his hidden kingship and his grave wisdom, at the elves for their Phaeton and their detached sorrow. You left him to die in a tunnel, he thinks, breath wheezing. You weren't there, I was. The ring pulses against his palm like a heartbeat. Yes, it seems to say, you were. He forces himself to his feet again. Stop that, he mutters aloud. He chose it. We all chose what we could. Now I choose. He walks on. Outside the Morannon, on the battered plain before the Black Gate, a small army gathers. Aragorn, Gandalf, Legolas, Gimli, Éomer, Imrahil, and two hobbits, merry-bandaged, Pippin, pale beneath his helmet. Their numbers are a shadow of Sauron's might, yet they stand, banners fluttering weakly in the sulphurous wind. The purpose here is simple, to draw the eye, to give the ring-bearer whatever chance remains. Gandalf's face is more lined than it was. The brief respite after the Pelennor has not refreshed him as much as he had hoped. He feels the weight of time and failing options. Do you think he is near? Pippin asks in a small voice as they ride. Frodo and Sam, if Sam is still with him. Do you think they're somewhere under that cloud looking up, seeing us? Gandalf does not answer at once. They are near, he says finally, or one of them is. He does not say how he knows this. The feel of the ring is muffled, but here, so close to the land of its making, its presence cannot be entirely hidden, and that is all we may be granted to know. Legolas, riding lightly, listens with a faraway look. The very air trembles, he murmurs to Gimli, as if some great string is drawn tight and will soon snap. In Barad-dûr, Sauron feels that string as well. He knows the captains of the West have come. He laughs the sound deep and silent, rippling through stone and shadow, a paltry force, a last gesture of defiance. He gathers his armies in answer, a black flood preparing to sweep them away, but a doubt gnaws at him. He had expected the ring to be brought to him in pride on the hand of some fallen fool of the West, seeking power. Yet he has seen no such figure. The halfling in his snare revealed little, save that his enemies have had the ring in their keeping. Fitting that such a weak creature would stumble under its gaze, and now the ring is closer. But not at his gate, not on some lord's hand. It crawls, hidden, within his own land. Sauron does not understand that. He does not yet quite suspect the true madness of his foes. His eye turns toward the black gate, to the visible threat. He leans forward, as it were, to crush it. In that leaning, a space opens elsewhere. Sam reaches the ashen approaches of Mount Doom. The ground here is cracked and hot, even through his worn soles. Each step sends little puffs of ash up around his ankles. Sulfur stings his nose and eyes. The air shimmers faintly with the heat rising from deep fissures. He slips and scrambles, clutching at black boulders. His breath comes in harsh gasps. His vision narrows. Sometimes the world tilts sideways and he has to stop, pressing his forehead to the rock until it rights itself. The ring has grown heavier. Every yard gained up that jagged slope drags it down as if it would anchor him in place. The chain bites into the back of his neck. The whispers are constant now, like a swarm of gnats. "Rest," they say. "You've done enough. No one can ask more. Lie down. The fire will take you later in time. The world will turn. Nothing you do matters." Sam thinks of Frodo's hand in his, trembling back in the Emyn Muil, of his voice, so gentle, on the riverbank at the breaking of the fellowship. "I am going to Mordor alone, Sam. You're not alone," he croaks to the hot, empty air. "Not while I've got legs under me." He staggers on, at a ledge halfway up, where the wind claws at him and small stones skitter past over the drop. His body simply gives out. His legs fold. He collapses to his knees, then forward, catching himself with his hands on burning rock. The ring slams against the ground with a tiny metallic chink that seems to echo like a struck bell. He can't move. He can't. Tears, scorching more than the fumes, prick at his eyes. "I can't do it, Mr. Frodo," he whispers, voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I can't." For a moment, there is only his rasping breath and the slow pulse of heat under the mountain. Then, under his hand, the stone seems to shudder. It is not an earthquake, not yet. But deep in Orodruin's heart, the forges stir. The presence that lives there, the old resentful heat that remembers the touch of Sauron's forging hand, feels its firstborn child drawn near. The ring, not in a lord's fist, not on the hand of its maker, on a hobbit's breast. Against his chest, the ring burns, not outwardly, but inwardly, a flame of desire directed not at any other, but at Sam himself. He sees, in a dizzy flash, the mountain laid low, its fire tamed, pouring through channels to irrigate lands made green under a new sun of his own kindling. He stands, massive and unassailable, his hands calloused, still but mighty, bringing order and growth where there was ruin. He sees Hobbiton safe forever, the Shire ringed with walls of light that no dark lord can breach. He hears Rosie's voice, faint and adoring, calling to him from a doorstep that never knew fear. All it would take, the vision whispers, is a turning aside, a few words, a single thought. Mine. His fingers twitch toward the ring. They draw back, scorched by something other than heat. He thinks of Frodo's face when he took the burden in Rivendell, of the quiet terror there, yes, but also of a strange light, not pride, not hunger, simply acceptance. Frodo, who had more reason than any to hide behind others, had stepped forward. I will take the ring, though I do not know the way. Sam knows the way now, at least the last of it. I don't want it, he whispers through grit teeth. I never wanted it. I want to go home. His hand, shaking, closes around the ring nonetheless. I promised him, he says to the mountain, to the fire, to the deaf sky. I promised. And a Gamgee keeps his word. He hauls himself upright, one motion at a time. His legs scream, his lungs burn. He stands, he takes another step. Far below, unnoticed by him, a small figure slinks along the mountain's lower slopes, half mad with hunger and conflicting urges. Gollum did not die in the tunnel of Cirith Ungol. Shelob, wild with pain, lashed out at everything that moved after Sam's last blow, but the wretched creature had flung himself against the wall and crawled into a side crevice, bones bruised, mind rattled. He woke hours later to silence and the smell of blood and spider corpses. He found Frodo's still form and Sam's tracks, but no ring on the hobbit's body. He screamed then, soundless and tearing, until his throat bled. The precious had been taken from him again. For days he prowled the fringes of Mordor, unsure whether to turn back, to flee, to seek some hole to die in. But the pull of the ring is not something he can escape. It drags him on an invisible leash, claws sunk into the tattered remains of Sméagol's soul. He comes now, climbing in Sam's distant wake, drawn by that unseen gravity. His thoughts are a tangled mess. Sam, the rude hobbit, the thief. He stole it, yes, stole our precious and killed our nice master. But he also spared us, didn't he? Yes, when he could have slain us. He wept for the dead hobbit. Soft-hearted, stupid hobbit. Maybe he will share? Oh, no, never. They never share. They only cheats. All of them cheats. The ring hums in Sam's ears. It feels Gollum, too. On the blasted plateau before the Black Gate, the captains of the West find themselves surrounded. The mouth of Sauron has ridden forth and shown them the mithril coat and the small sword that once belonged to a hobbit, and despair has drooped many heads. Yet Aragorn has flung that lie back, refusing to swallow it whole. They have drawn swords. They have charged. Now, in a maelstrom of black and red and steel, they fight against odds no sane commander would accept. Pippin stabs at a troll's foot, is flung aside. Gimli bellows, an axe in each hand. Legolas' last quiver of arrows sings. Gandalf raises his staff, his face blazed white as he calls on reserves of power he had hoped never to tap again. Somewhere in the chaos he feels it, a flicker, the ring, very near the heart of the fire that made it. His head snaps up toward the south, toward Orodruin. For a heartbeat, the roar of the battle dims in his ears. Sam, he whispers, in wonder, in horror, in mingled hope and grief. You made it. On the mountain, that same instant, Sam stumbles through a rent crack in the rock. Heat slams into him like a wall. The chamber of fire spreads before him, a great cavern, its floor split by rivers of molten rock, its air filled with red glare and choking vapor. In the center, on a narrow tongue of stone, a precipice juts out over a deep chasm of flame, the crack of doom. He stands there, swaying. The ring on his chest is a brand now. His fingers, when he reaches up, barely manage to close around it. The metal seems to sing in his grip, a clear, high, terrible note. He can barely think. His world has shrunk to 3 points, the weight at his neck, the heat on his skin, and the roaring in his ears. Here we are, he rasps. End of the road, Samwise? He takes a step toward the brink. The mountain shakes, not from any natural tremor, but from an inner convulsion. The fire knows what is about to happen. The will bound into the ring thrashes. The will at its core, Sauron's own, feels the nearness of utter unmaking. On the plains, the eye still leans toward the gate, but now it flinches. Far away in his tower, Sauron reels. He had not imagined this. Such a small, such an utterly unlikely hand carrying his doom to the very place of its making. For a heartbeat, his vast intellect stutters at the sheer, absurd courage of it. Then it clamps down. He hurls his consciousness back toward the mountain. Stop! The ring shrieks in Sam's mind, no longer subtle, no longer coaxing. You will kill us. You will kill yourself. You will kill your master. You owe him. You owe everyone. You can save them if you use me. Visions slam into him. The world in chains. Hobbits in pits. Rosy withered. The party tree cut for spear shafts. Orcs in bagshot row. All of it painted in such detail that Sam's stomach knots. Throw me away, the voices hiss. And this will come to pass, for you are too small. You are too late. Only by my power. Sam remembers something suddenly and blazingly clear. Frodo, on the stair below, his body ruined, the ring heavy on his neck. Frodo's quiet despair in the dead marshes. Frodo clutching it in his fist in the Emyn Muil, saying, "It has a will of its own. It is." Treacherous. Frodo had walked all this way with that in his heart. Sam's eyes fill. "I know what you do," he whispers, speaking not to the visions, but to the thing on the chain. "You lie." He moves. Later, if there were any later to remember, he would not be able to say exactly how. One moment he stands, feet rooted, every part of him screaming to freeze or turn back. The next, he is at the lip of the chasm, his arm drawn back. The ring song rises to a shrill, desperate pitch. For an instant, it feels as if his fingers are glued to it, as if invisible hooks have sunk into his flesh. "Sam!" A voice screeches behind him. He turns. Gollum, half shadow, half bone, launches himself out of the smoke. Sam has only a heartbeat to see him. Wild eyes, teeth bared, fingers clawing for him and for the chain around his neck. Time slows. In that frozen instant, 1,000 possible paths hang over the fire. In one, Gollum bites. Sam falls. The ring arcs. In the canon remembered by most, Gollum's greed undoes him. He and the ring tumble into the flame together, laughing and screaming. Here, Sam has walked alone. Alone, too. He reacts. He does not flinch away. He does not fall. He steps into Gollum's leap. Sting, that he had all but forgotten in his drained ring-rack state, is still belted at his side. His hand finds it as if it has always known the path. The blade flashes. Gollum's eyes widen. For a heartbeat, Smeagol surfaces, bewildered, in that gaunt, hate-wrecked face. "Master," he gasps, not Sam, Frodo. He sees Frodo dying on the steps. He sees the broken promise. The sword goes in. Sam feels it, sickening, through his arm. Not clean, not glorious, just desperate. Gollum's momentum carries them both backward, but Sam, braced, does not go over. Gollum slides off the blade, hand scrabbling uselessly at Sam's cloak, at the chain. One finger catches the ring itself for an instant. All three, Sam, Gollum, the ring, are bound in a knot of will and need. Then that finger slips. Gollum falls, not into the fire, but onto a ledge below, where he lies broken, his body twisted, but not consumed. His eyes, huge in his shrunken face, fix on the ring in Sam's hand, and the last intelligible sound he makes is a thin, wailing, precious. Sam stands, panting. His hand is slick. He looks down and sees his own blood and Gollum's on Sting's hilt. He looks up. The ring rests in his palm. It gleams red in the mountain's glare, perfect, unmarred. He could still stop. He could still turn and flee with it. Gollum is no longer a threat. The armies at the gate might even be saved by its use, by one great act of power. He feels dimly Aragorn's peril, Pippin's fear, Gandalf's strain. All of that he could sweep away in an instant if he thinks of the Shire. Not in terror now, but as it was, unsullied, the smell of freshly turned earth, the taste of strawberries, the sound of a kettle's whistle. If he keeps the ring, that place will be forever under its shadow, even if he wins today. If he uses it, he will become something that cannot walk in that simple world again. If he destroys it, he knows with a bleak, clear honesty, he will almost certainly die. The choice is not between life and death. It is between what he is and what the world may be. Samwise Gamgee, son of Hamfast the Gaffer, gardener of Bagshot Row, tired, hungry, heartsick, stands on the brink of a decision that kings and wizards have shrunk from. I made a promise, he says again, but now it is not to Frodo alone. It is to the earth, and to all the small, stubborn, beautiful things that grow in it. His fingers open, the ring falls. For a heartbeat, it seems to hang in the air, light as a mote of dust. Then gravity claims it. It drops, turning, flashing once, twice, as if trying to catch at the world with its last glint. It strikes the molten surface below. Sound explodes, not into the ears, but into the bones of every living thing under Sauron's sky. White fire erupts, not upward in a single pillar, but outward through every channel of power that has ever touched the ring. In Barad-dûr, foundations quake, towers shudder, great wheels of industry grind suddenly to a halt as the will that drove them is yanked away. On the battlefield before the Black Gate, orcs stagger, clutching at their heads, shrieking. Trolls topple, roaring in blind pain. The Nazgul's mounts falter mid-air, keening as black shapes are torn from them and flung howling into the unseen. Sauron himself feels it like the tearing of his very heart. For a moment, all his vast malice-forged intellect is a single raw scream. Then the foundations of his power, painstakingly laid over ages, begin to crumble. Barad-dûr does not merely fall. It comes apart as if some unseen hand has reached into its design and pulled out a keystone that held an entire world's hatred in place. Lightning runs down its sides in black and red veins, lancing into the plain. The eye atop it flares, shrinks, distorts. For an instant, some who look up swear they see shock there and, not fear exactly, but an absence where a terrible certainty once lay. The tower implodes, stone flows like water, iron softens. Great blocks slide free and plunge, sending up geysers of dust that blot out the ruin. On the slopes of Orodruin, Sam staggers as the mountain heaves under him. Heat surges up in a wave, knocking him backward. Cracks shoot through the rock like lightning. Gouts of flame burst from vents that were quiet a moment ago. He falls to his knees. He has no strength left to run. Above, the sky splits with a sound like a continent breaking. Nazgul, 9 dark smears against the cloud, wheel toward the mountain, called back too late, their shrieks thin and wild as their wills unravel under the blow of their master's fall. One by one, they falter, catch fire like scraps of burnt paper, and dissolve into nothing. Sam, half-conscious, sees one brief shadow cross the crack's glare. He does not know what it is. He thinks dimly of Frodo. "I did it, Mr. Frodo," he whispers, his voice lost in the roar. We did it. The world goes white. In Gondor, in Rohan, in Lorien and Rivendell and faraway lands where Sauron's name is a distant rumor. People feel it. A pressure lifts. A taste of iron and fear in the back of every throat evaporates. Crows, circling over carcasses, startle and scatter as if a hunter's net has been cut from their wings. Somewhere in the Shire, a child who has never heard of Mordor looks up from play, suddenly aware that the day feels brighter than it did a minute ago. At the Black Gate, the Orcost, motherless now, breaks. They throw down weapons. They run. The earth under their iron-shod feet buckles, sinks, cracks open to swallow some. Aragorn, panting, spattered, lowers his sword slowly. Gandalf stands very still, his staff planted in the ash. He closes his eyes. He sees, or thinks he does, a flash of a small figure in a cavern of fire, silhouetted against flame. He sees, or imagines, another small form lying still on cold stone, far behind him, in a tunnel that now begins to shiver under new cracks. "Samwise," he whispers, with awe and sorrow combined. "Hobbit of hobbits." Pippin, leaning on his sword, looks about at the chaos, bewildered. Is it over?" he stammers. "For him," Gandalf says softly. "Yes, for the world. The work of ending is only beginning." The days after Sauron's fall are strange ones. The land does not heal in a moment. Baradur's ruin sends clouds of dust and poison drifting for miles. The fires of Orodruin rage for days, venting their long-prisoned fury. Many of Sauron's creatures die outright, their existence too bound up with his to continue without him. Others stagger on, masterless, dangerous. The captains of the West retreat from the collapsing gate just in time. They ride back toward Minas Tirith under a sky slowly losing its oppressive lid, the clouds thinning, breaking here and there to show a hint of true blue. In the White City, bells begin to ring. At first, it is tentative, one bell, then two. By evening, the sound rolls through the tiers, clumsy but joyous, as folk who have known only siege and dread for months dare to believe in something like victory. Aragorn is crowned, as in the tale so many know. Éowyn and Faramir walk in the gardens of the Houses of Healing, their hands meeting. Legolas and Gimli speak of a journey to Aglarond and Fangorn. The Fellowship, what remains of it, gathers in a hall still half broken, sharing quiet words and deeper silences. Yet over every celebration hangs a question. "Where are they?" Merry asks again and again when the noise dies down. "Frodo and Sam, where will we find them when we go to the Blackland?" Gandalf does not lie. "I do not think we will," he says. They go anyway. The eagles bear the wizard and the hobbits and a king into the smoke over Mordor. They scour the slopes of Orodruin, circling, calling. They find, eventually, a wretched bundle of bones and skin on a lower ledge. Gollum, beyond any help, the last rattle of his breath whisked away by the hot wind as they watch. Gandalf looks down with a strange, pitying gravity. In the end, he says, almost to himself, he played a part here too. Though not the one he might have wished, they do not find Sam, nor do they find Frodo. The tunnel of Cirith Ungol has partially collapsed under the mountain's convulsions. When enough rock can be cleared, and soldiers of Ithilien and Gondor brave its webs and fetid dark, they find on a stone ledge a small shape under an elven cloak, perfectly still. One hand rests as if upon a breast, though what it once clutched is gone. Frodo's body is brought out into a thin, clean light. He is buried on a high hill in Ithilien, where the first green shoots of returning life have begun to push through ash. The kings and captains of the West stand around that small grave. Sam's friends from the Shire stand there too, their faces wet. "If Sam were here," Pippin says hoarsely, He'd say we were making a fuss and Mr. Frodo wouldn't like it. Samwise, Gandalf says, voice rough, is honored in Frodo's honor, and more besides, I think, in ways we cannot yet see. In Minas Tirith, tales begin already. They speak of the ring-bearer who fell in a haunted pass, and the faithful servant who took up his burden alone and walked into the very heart of the enemy's land to destroy it. They do not know all the details. Rumor fills in gaps with color. Sam wrestled with dragons? No. Sam called lightning with Gandalf's staff? Definitely no. Sam strode 10 feet tall and scattered orcs like leaves? Absolutely no, and yet in some truer sense, yes. The two halflings, they are called in the songs of men. In the Shire, much later, the story is stranger still. The travelers return, but they are 3, not 4. Merry, Pippin, and a gray-eyed Sam, who has lines on his face that no hobbit of his age should wear. Gandalf does not come with them. His road has turned elsewhere. The returning hobbits find their land scarred by Sharky's meddling, as in the tale most know. The ruffians are driven out. The Shire is set in order. There is no Frodo to oversee its healing. Sam throws himself into the work. He plants, he mends, he carries rich soil from Galadriel's gift to every wounded place he can reach. The party tree, hacked down in his absence, is replaced by a sapling with silver-green leaves and white blossoms that smell faintly of some far sea. He marries Rosie. The feast is bright and noisy and good. There is laughter, there is dancing. Sam smiles, and most people, most of the time, are content to see that and ask no deeper questions. But at night, when Rosie sleeps, his hand goes, half from habit, to his breast. The ring is not there. Sometimes he wakes with his fingers clutching at empty cloth, heart hammering, sure he has dropped it, sure it lies on some dark rock waiting for an orc's hand. Then he remembers. Then he lies awake, staring at the beams of his ceiling, hearing the crackle of imagined fire. He does not speak of that last day on the mountain. To many, once, only once, he tells the whole of it in a low voice to Eleanor when she is older, and some of the brightness of childhood has given way to a deeper curiosity. "Were you afraid, Dad?" she asks, sitting with him under the party tree's new leaves. He considers. "Yes," he says finally, "and no. I was that tired, Ellie. Too tired to be proper afraid. It was like when you've been working in the garden from before sunrise and your back aches and your hands ache and your head aches, and there's that last patch of weeds. You're too weary to dread it. You just do it. And later, when you're resting, you think, that was a close thing." She looks at him, eyes wide, not fully understanding but sensing the weight behind the homely words. "And Uncle Frodo?" Sam's face softens in that way that never quite stops hurting those who love him to see. "He is at peace," he says. "I like to think he knew." At the end, somehow, he never quite shakes the thought that, at the moment of the ring's fall, somewhere beyond his sight, Frodo's weary spirit straightened, free at last of its burden's pull. In Gondor, in the high halls of the king, lore masters argue over the exact nature of Sauron's fall. Some say it was inevitable once the ring was found. Some say it was all balanced on the edge of a knife, and that knife was Sam's will. They write scrolls, they light candles, they murmur over crumbling parchments. Faramir, walking alone one evening along the rebuilt walls, looks out east, where Barad-dûr once stood, now only a jagged scar on the horizon. The air above it is clearer than it has been in memory. He thinks of Frodo, under the trees of Ithilien, light on his face, burden heavy on his heart. He thinks of tales of Sam, Stumbling through ash, all the great tales he muses half to himself turn on the small, in the end, on choices made by hands that never held swords before. That is the lesson here, if there is one. Eowyn, joining him, leans on the parapet. "And does that comfort you?" she asks. He smiles, but it is a crooked smile. "It terrifies me," he admits, "and, yes, it comforts me also, for it means that we too may do some good, even in the dark." In Mordor, long after the armies have withdrawn, after the first beginnings of green have dared to show themselves on the smallest patches of soil spared the worst poisons, travelers come rarely. A party of Dunedain and elves on some errand of the king's pick their way one day near the foot of Orodruin. The mountain still smokes occasionally, but its rage is spent. They find on a ledge, half buried in falling ash, a small bundle of cloth tattered by heat and time. Within, surprisingly untouched, lies a small vial of glass, cracked but still faintly gleaming. The phial of Galadriel. There is no body with it. Perhaps the fire claimed him utterly, one of the elves says. Voice soft, or the eagles, another suggests, found him and bore him somewhere we do not know. None of them say aloud the other possibility that some quiet hand, unassuming and unnoticed as Samwise himself, reached into that chamber of doom and drew him out at the last. In the west, in lands further yet, ships depart, elves go, bearing with them memories of a world diminished and saved. One evening in the Shire, much later than in the tale many know, a white-sailed ship comes up the Brandywine in the dusk, its prow carving the river's slow current. Folks stare from the banks, mouths open, pipes forgotten. At the quays, a gray figure steps out. Gandalf, older, gentler, his eyes still bright. He finds Sam in his garden. "You did not come with us," he says without reproach, "when Frodo went." Sam, wiping his hands on his trousers, looks up at him. "He went without me. In this world," he says simply, "seemed right somehow that he'd go on without me beyond it too. Besides, there's Rosie and the children and so much to do." Gandalf studies him. "You could come now," he says. "There is a place for you, for one who bore the ring and bore it so loyally. The sea is not closed to you yet." Sam looks westward, over the hill, toward a horizon he cannot see. For a heartbeat, something in his face loosens, the old weariness, the old rawness. "He'll come," he says softly. "One day, when the work's done, when the little ones are grown and Rosie's had her time and the Shire is set as straight as I can make it." Gandalf nods. "It is your choice," he says. He leaves again on that white ship, and years pass. Sam grows old. He sees his children wed. He sees harvests coming fat and golden. He sits under the party tree's descendant and smokes his pipe and tells tales when he is in the mood. Some nights, when the stars are particularly sharp, he hears faintly the sound of distant waves where there are no seas. At the end, when his hair is white and his hands are knotted with years of work and scars no other hobbit quite understands, he walks one last time to the borders of the Shire. Eleanor meets him there. "Dad," she says, voice thick, "are you—" He smiles at her. The old plain Sam smile. "I'm just going to see Mr. Frodo," he says. "I've kept him waiting long enough, I reckon." He walks away down the road toward the west, a small figure with his shoulders still a little bowed, as if from a weight long set down. Some say a gray ship met him, some say a light took him. In the halls of lore, men debate whether such a hobbit, who bore the ring to its end, might be accounted among the great of the world. The trees and the grass and the soil of the Shire do not debate. They remember his hands. In Mordor, the scar of Barad-dûr softens. Century by century, moss creeps over broken stones. Fresh water finds new channels. Birds at last dare to nest on those heights. Very few who walk there now know the name Samwise, but on some nights, when the red afterglow of the old mountain's fire lingers on the clouds, the wind over the ruins carries a whisper as if stone itself recalls, a hobbit stood here. He chose to let the world live. Middle-earth goes on. It is quieter, perhaps, in the telling, without Frodo's return to the Shire to write his book, without his departure from the Grey Havens with his friends by his side. There is one less voice on the road, one less pen scratching by candlelight. The great pattern of events, though, is not much changed. The king reigns wisely. Old wounds heal, new ones, lesser but real, open and close as the years turn. The Shire thrives. Songs are sung of the War of the Ring, of kings and captains, of elves and dwarves and men. And in the middle of those songs, like a quiet root that holds the whole tree, there is always a brief mention of the gardener who went alone into Mordor when all others were occupied and dropped into the fire the one thing that could have given him everything he never dared to want. In another world, in another telling, Frodo stands with him at the end, and Gollum's last mad joy carries the ring into the flame. Here, Shelob killed Frodo on the stair, and Sam went on alone. Years later, when the party tree's leaves whisper under an autumn wind, and a child in the Shire asks her mother if the darkness will ever come back, the woman shakes her head, thinking of tales heard at her grandmother's knee. No, she says, not while the earth remembers him, not while any of us do. The child goes back to playing far away, beyond the bent world's edge, if such places there be. A small hobbit sits on a green hill beside another, their faces turned toward a light that does not burn. They do not speak of Shelob, or of fire, or of rings. They speak of potatoes and pipeweed, and the taste of strawberries, and somewhere in the vastness of the sundering sea's quiet, a single, almost forgotten golden glint sinks without a trace, its whisper finally, utterly stilled.